Hello, my beautiful. Thank you for listening to me today, and welcome to another episode of the Sacred Roots podcast. I am on fire. This is the third episode that I am recording back to back because I have so many important things to share with you. Really, this is a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. But I really want to shed a light and bring clarity to you of how feminine wisdom, sacred feminine wisdom is actually deeply connected to living your purpose. So first, let's dissect what is sacred feminine wisdom? What is your purpose? How are these two connected? And how can you use sacred feminine wisdom to live your purpose? So, sacred feminine wisdom, from far away, if you don't really know what it is, you might think it's like doing full moon ceremonies or honoring your cycle or doing rituals. And, while that is part of it, actually, sacred feminine wisdom has nothing to do with that. You can do those rituals, those practices without any awareness, without any sacredness, without any divine feminine energy to it. Because sacred feminine wisdom is really about reclaiming your feminine essence, reclaiming your feminine gifts, living from your intuition, living from your heart, being a vessel of love, being in service for the greatest good with your soul gifts. It's about reclaiming your truth, your voice, your gifts to serve the collective from a place of love. This is what sacred feminine wisdom is about to me. And so obviously, it has to do with living your purpose. Because who did you come here to be? If it isn't for being your most authentic self, using your voice, using your gifts, and serving with those gifts, and doing it all from a place of love, from a place of connection with the divine. Because the divine, your soul, they are expressions of love. And there's a very, very strong connection. And this is really what I want you to understand is that sacred feminine wisdom is something that many, many women talk about today. Probably still not enough because we're still in a patriarchal society. It takes time for cultures to change. But I'm sure I talk about it. You know, many other teachers who talk about it. And it's great because the more we talk about it, the more this work and the magic that it carries is going to spread. And we really need that right now for us individually and for the collective. But what we fail to understand is that this feminine wisdom was hidden, was forbidden for a really long time. And we really see an incredible connection between the suppression of the goddess, of goddess worship, of teaching that sacred feminine wisdom, and the suppression of woman. So, what happened here? Let me bring you back down memory lane. Let's go to 1000, 2000 BCE for a little lesson of her story. Because something else that I really want you to grasp and really feel into what I am saying. Don't just understand it with your mind. Close your eyes. Feel it with your heart, with your body, with your cells, because this is your story as well. As a woman, this is your story. For at least 200,000 years, 200,000 years, there was goddess worship. The divine spirit was considered to be a woman. It was the goddess, the one who birthed the universe. How do we know that? Because we have found incredible statues, artifacts that are 200,000 years old or plus, that are statues of goddesses. So when humans at the time decided to create art, what they created was a beautiful woman with beautiful breasts, carrying a horn with 13 lines on it, referring to the 13 cycles of the moon, which is our cycles of fertility, because our fertility is connected to the moon. And because we were able to birth life, every man, every woman comes from the womb of a woman. Because of that, the ancients believed that the goddess was feminine, that the divine was feminine. And so they worshipped the goddess. And because they worshipped the goddess, they worshipped woman. We were deeply mysterious. We would create life. We would birth life. We would eat water and transform it into milk. We would gather grains and make it into bread. As women, we have this innate ability to create, to birth, to incubate, to transform. And men deeply honored that. They understood that their role was to support the feminine, was to create a container for the feminine, was to serve the feminine, was to really hold space for the feminine. The divine masculine, in its true expression, is deeply protective, deeply aware, deeply compassionate. He holds space and he creates the container for the feminine to thrive, because the feminine is the creator. Now, we all have feminine and masculine energy within ourselves, so we can play with those different archetypes. But that's how ancient societies and spiritual traditions used to live for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And then there are tribes that arrived from the north of Europe. They arrived in the Middle East, in Eastern Europe, they arrived in India, kind of all around 3000 BCE. And they arrived on horses, and they arrived with weapons. And all those cultures and societies and tribes that were living in old Europe and the Middle East and India were mostly matristic. They were really living lives that were harmonious and peaceful. So they didn't have weapons. Why would they need that? So when those men arrived on horses with their weapons, they very easily took over. And they started ruling and deciding what was going to happen in those tribes. And that's when patriarchy slowly started arriving. And what you see is that in about 1000 BCE, Judaism already existed. And you had goddess Ashera, who was the great mother, right? The goddess. She's known as Ashera, Astarte. She's connected to goddess Inanna from the Sumerians. And Ashera suddenly, in 1000 BCE, marries a god known as Yahweh. So Ashera was for centuries the only goddess. And in 1000 BCE, because there's this patriarchal masculine energy coming through, she marries Yahweh. And so there are not only priestesses to Asherah, there are now priests to Yahweh. And those masculine priests of Yahweh want to have more power. They want to have more control. They don't like it that there's so much worship of the goddess, because that's the energy that they came in with. And there starts to be more and more conflict. If you read the story of like Babylon and Israel and the Assyrian, there was already a lot of conflict there. There's actually a reason why there's always been so much conflict in that area, because this space is a portal for certain energies to come on earth. And so that's why there's this duality there. There's this conflict, there's this fight between the light and the darkness, love and power control. No coincidence that there's conflict there again now. This is ancient. This has been existing for a really long time. And so, what happened in 583, I think, BCE, 83 or 86, there was another war against Israel in Babylon. And Israel lost. And the priests of Yahweh got tired because this was like the second or the third war in a few centuries that they had lost. And they started blaming the goddess. They started saying it's because of Ashera, it's because of all the priestesses that spend so much time praying Ashera instead of praying to Yahweh, because he's a man, so he's stronger. He has this warlike qualities, just like every man does. You know, men have that energy more than we do. And I mean, when I say men, I mean like more masculine essence beings. So they said it's because of all that goddess worship and all those priestesses that we've lost the war. We can't do that anymore. So we're blaming the goddess, we're blaming woman. And now the goddess is going to go underground and it's Yahweh who's going to rule. And Ashera had to hide. She was shamed. And we see a really strong connection between the respect, the reverence that the ancients had for women for centuries, thousands of years. And suddenly that shifted into we shame women. It's because of you that we're losing. It's because of your connection to the goddess. And so, women were not allowed to connect with the goddess anymore. And we got disconnected from our connection to the unseen. We got disconnected from our intuition. We got disconnected from the fact that we are vessels. Like, we birth souls. We are vessels. The divine works through us physically to bring life on earth. Not just physically, it does it for a lot of other things. But like, it's so obvious when you birth children that it's like, oh, yes, I see. Actually, it's true. There's something greater that is working through me so that I can birth life. So you cut us from that connection. You cut us from our power. You cut us from who we really are. You cut us from our truth. And this still has a tremendous impact on our society today. Because we are afraid to express our emotions. We are afraid to use our intuition rather than our logical mind. We've totally forgotten that we are magnetic, that we don't need to chase, we can call things in. We don't know how to surrender anymore. We're always controlling. We're always giving, giving, giving to prove that we are doing enough, whereas our nature is to receive. This patriarchy and the way it has ruled for 2,500 years has completely disconnected us from our natural way of being, from our gifts. And so there's no wonder that we struggle to express who we are. It's no wonder that we don't know what our purpose is. I won't even go through the centuries of witch hunts and drama that happened then, because that is also still impacting us. But that is connected to the patriarchy as well. And so allowing yourself to uncover sacred feminine wisdom, to learn about Mary Magdalene, who was the true embodiment of the divine feminine, the sacred feminine, to learn about Isis. We are called by these archetypes because your soul is like, you have to reclaim this part of you. It's time, my love. It's time for you to step up. It's time for you to express who you came here to be. There's this huge rise of feminine energy now, because we need women to remember how gifted they are, because we are vessels. And if we can allow ourselves to be vessels again, not just to create the children of tomorrow, but to birth the projects that we came here to birth, to write the books that we came here to write, to record a podcast that we came here to write, when we can do all of that from a place of love, from a place of using our intuition, this is when we are going to create the new world. This is when the shift of the collective is going to happen. Now, I have full body chills when I am saying this. I hope you can feel it, because it is, I don't want to put like pressure on you and make you feel like this transition is on your shoulders. Sometimes I feel like that. And it's not just on, it's on everybody's shoulders. But we are the change that we've been waiting for. And it is going to happen through the embodiment of our divine feminine essence. And that means through reclaiming your intuition, using your intuition. We also need the rational mind. We also need logic. But today we live in an excess of logic. How do you know which one to follow? Right? Right now, we feel our intuition, but we don't trust it. We push it down. It doesn't make sense. It's too dangerous. It's scary. Yeah, it's scary. Because your intuition is often going to push you out of your comfort zone, because your soul knows what you're capable of. So reclaiming that feminine wisdom, learning about it, it's going to activate your truth, activate your intuition, remind you that you are magnetic, help you like heal your witch wound that is connected to your throat chakra, so that you can use your voice, so that you can reconnect with your womb and why you came here to birth, so that you can become that vessel of love once again and surrender to the greater plan. Surrendering is such a beautiful feminine quality. It's not about being submissive. It's about trusting, surrendering to what is, accepting, and co-creating with the divine. Because you are a spiritual being. You are divine. You have the divine within yourself. So co-create with it, because it makes everything easier. Why wouldn't you? If you have this incredible power within yourself that creates miracles all the time. I mean, it creates life. You don't even need to think about it. There's a perfect baby coming out of your womb 9 months later. I use this example all the time, but because it is so speaking, it is so relevant. And so using sacred feminine wisdom in my life has changed so much for me. It's changed everything. And I guess this is why I am so passionate to teach about it. Because I used to be in my masculine so much. Oh, I used to be a real control freak. You should have seen me. I used to not trust my intuition at all. I mean, this whole life that I had built until my 30th, it was not from my intuition. It was from what I think I should be doing, what I need to do to prove myself. I mean, I was a very wounded feminine woman. I didn't trust myself. I didn't think I was enough. I had self-esteem issues. I had no boundaries. I was just giving, 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 proving myself, working hard, controlling everything, being kind, being a people pleaser, hoping I would get through life and somehow make it work. Somehow I did, but I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy. It wasn't me. I had created a life that wasn't me. What's the point then? For me, there was no point. So that's when I really started looking for, who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I here? And then the feminine came into my life. And I guess this is why I wrote a book. If you haven't read it yet, it's here, The Path of Femininity. Put it up. But if you actually are ready to live your purpose, to use the sacred feminine wisdom, to apply it to your life, to understand more about the story of the feminine, I highly recommend that you join me in the 3-day challenge that I am hosting on December 13, 14, 15 to help you live your purpose. Because now you understand why there is such a deep connection for us women between reclaiming your own feminine wisdom, reclaiming the sacred being that you are, and living your purpose. And so I'm going to take you on a journey where I'm going to share ancient teachings with you, but I'm going to make you work as well because this is what I love to do. I love to teach, but I love to make it practical. I don't want to leave you just with information. Today, information is irrelevant. You can't really Google what I'm going to teach you. That's the beauty about mystery teachings and ancient wisdom. The beauty. Actually, it's really sad because it's kind of done on purpose that you can't Google it. This wisdom has been hidden from us for centuries, exactly for all the reasons that you can guess and that I talked about earlier. Um, but still, if it's just information, if you don't apply it truly to your life, it won't make a difference. So I'm going to make you work. I'm going to make you do certain exercises that are going to bring immense clarity to who your path and who you came here to be. Because the beauty is that your soul left some insights, some little bits and pieces, little breadcrumbs on the way. And when you gather all those breadcrumbs and you bring them together, it shows you the way. It shows you who you came here to be. But because it's our life, it's hard. We don't have like the perspective to bring all those dots together. And if you don't know, you don't know. And you don't know that you don't know, right? So I'm going to make you know. That's what I love to do most. It's to help people open their eyes, right? Change your perspective, teach you life changing wisdom because it is life changing. It changed my life, it changed the life of my clients, and it might very well change yours for the better, my love. So, if everything that I've shared with you is resonating, click the link that is in the show notes of this episode and join me December 13th until the 15th for a 3-day challenge. It's free. You can show up live. I highly recommend you show up live, but I also understand we are mothers, we have businesses, we have families, we have things to do. You can also watch the challenge in your own timing. There are replays, and the replays will be available for a week after we begin, so until December 20th. My love, don't let this be another podcast episode that just, you know, goes into one ear, goes out through the other one, because there's a real opportunity here for you. So you don't need to take this opportunity with me, although it's going to be an incredible 3 days and it's free and it's right there. You just need to say yes and free your calendar. But start walking this path. Start walking the path of reclaiming your feminine energy, of reconnecting with your intuition, of asking yourself, who did I come here to be? Show me, universe. Guide me, great goddess. Because if you do that every day, your life will deeply, deeply change. And if you need support along the way, I would more than gladly support you. But there are a lot of people that are amazing at doing that too. So find who works for you. Just do the work. It doesn't really matter who you do it with. I just want you to do the work. Thank you so much. And I will see you on the 13th.